Hey everyone, welcome into another episode of the Inside Voice podcast. My name is Jess, if we haven't met yet, and I'm so thankful that you're here. If you're watching on YouTube, you see this little guy right here. If you're not watching on YouTube, it looks like I literally have like a bug on my shirt, but it's actually my microphone. I know that this is the norm now, like people do videos on social media and they either hold this little thing up or they clip it to something and like make it into a microphone, or they just pin it on their shirts. Like I get that it's a thing, but like this black lapel mic that you clip on comes with like a cover on it, like a pop filter. And it's just this fuzzy little thing. And so when you clip it onto your clothing, it's like you have the fuzziest little tarantula on you that you've ever seen. So I'm trying to cover it up with my hair so you can't see it. I know it should be fine. Like I said, everybody uses these days, but I'm not the biggest fan of it, if I'm being completely honest with you. But listening back to audio that I've done for other episodes, it's just not great. So it's very hollow. Hopefully this sounds a little richer. Maybe I should speak more from like, was it your diaphragm? I don't know. Things I should know, having been in radio and in broadcast and been speaking for a living, for the last, 13 years of my life, at least. Oh gosh, it's longer than that. It's 18 years, isn't it? Oh man, I can do math. For those of you who are new to the Inside Voice podcast, my name is Jess. I promise you, we are not this wackadoodle off the rails on every single episode, but I have a history and a profession that I do outside of the podcast, and it happens to be radio broadcasting in country music. And I've been doing that for a long, long time. But welcome into another episode. Kind of fitting that I had to introduce myself like that because we're still talking about identity. This seems to kind of be a little bit of a theme the last couple of weeks, and I believe that it's just becoming more and more important for us to recognize and understand who we are and let that person out and live a life that is authentic and live a life that is reflective of the person that we've been created to be. The Inside Voice podcast is all about that authenticity. It's all about living a life that is full, being authentic so you can live a life that is well lived, I guess is the best way to put it. I've watched way too many people in my life in the past and even now, they just kind of float and they just allow things to happen and they kind of get pushed around by the waves of life. And it's like, what direction are you going though? Like, what are we doing here? Maybe that's the 3 on the Enneagram that's coming out of me. Like that's the achiever. That's somebody that's like checklist, goal oriented. I just want for everybody to have a life that they feel like was a good life, And I feel that, as a believer and a lover of Jesus, he has a plan for all of us, and he's got an idea of a big, bold, beautiful, vibrant, and colorful life. But we hold ourselves back from that because we never take the time to truly understand who he's made us to be, but also step into the plan that he has for our life. So we've talked about how we try so hard to be other people. We complicate things. We went through the Avril Lavigne song, and God just kind of looks at us and he's like, what are we doing? Did we forget who I made you to be? But also, we talked about how important it is for us to kind of know where we're going, to have a roadmap, to have this rubric, if you will, this future self. Last week we talked about future self. We talked about figuring out the person that we've been made to be, the destination that we're headed towards, and the things that we're supposed to be doing with our life. And I feel like one of the things that makes that so much easier is understanding ourselves. And for the longest time, maybe this is because I'm a 3 on the Enneagram. We are achievers, but we're also incredibly adaptable. We can read a room, we can adjust ourselves to kind of fit into the room, whether it's, we're going to be mellowed out or, oh, we're going to be super excited, or just kind of understanding like what the tone is of what we're walking into, and we can adapt to it. A lot of people have this skill. It's not just, unique to Enneagram 3s. We're just really good at it. But also I think that can kind of play against me sometimes, and it has in my life, because I can become so agreeable with other people that I don't speak up for myself. I don't even, have an opinion on things. I just kind of let people drive the conversation and that's it. And I've had to learn as I've gotten older to, lean into Jess and lean into my life and dictate where I want to go and what I want to do, and the purpose that has been placed on my life and the calling that's been placed on my life that I'm learning more and more every single day. That is a life that is well lived. So I'm not saying that if you're not living the way that God intended that you're lazy, but it might just be that you've just been agreeable like I have, There's nothing wrong with that. But I do want to pose this question today. How well do you know yourself? Think about who you are. Do you know who you are, or do you just know who you've been told that you are? Are you self-aware? This idea of self-awareness, I know, can sometimes be thought of as like, oh, recognizing how you show up in public, or recognizing how you address other people, being cognizant and aware of how you make other people feel, that is self-awareness. But I think self-awareness is also an internal thing. How aware are you of yourself? Do you know what makes you tick? Do you know what makes you excited and lights you up? Do you know what sets you off? Like what gets under your skin? Do you know what makes you feel loved? Do you know what helps you recharge? I think it's important for us to understand ourselves, because then we can show up better in the life that we've been given. We can show up better for others as well. And ultimately, we can step into our purpose with confidence, knowing those things about ourselves. So I want to encourage you to get to know you a little bit. Like I said, I spent most of my life just trying to be agreeable. I think it actually started with my mom. My mom and I didn't have the closest relationship growing up. And I always felt like it was so hard to please her. I felt that even though I was getting good grades and I was playing the sports and I was serving in church and I was helping out around the house, it just never felt like it was enough. But it made me into this person of like, I've got to prove myself. I have to do as much as I can for others and not let myself get in the way, but try to figure out what they want and then show up in the way that they want me to show up. That doesn't serve anybody. Honestly, being agreeable and easy is not always beneficial to everybody that's involved. Let me put it this way. Have you ever, let's say you're married, have you ever asked your spouse where they want to go to eat for dinner? And they're like, I don't care. The conversation ends right after that. Like, it's really annoying when you want them to either just make a decision, or you really want to serve them by allowing them to choose the restaurant that you go to, or even just asking what they want to eat for dinner. Like, you're looking for input and they're not giving it to you. That's not helpful. It's also not helpful for you to just be agreeable and go along with what everybody says all the time, because then you're not being your authentic self. You're not showing up as you are and as how you've been designed and as you've been created to be, which means you're not showing up fully for the people around you. So it is beneficial. I'm not saying you need to be difficult, and I'm not saying that you need to drive the ship completely, but I am saying that it's okay for you to be who you are. You know what I mean? There's beauty in that. And I think that our world needs more people to be who God has created them to be. Our world needs more people to understand what God has put inside of them and give it to the world. Like, that's what we're meant to do on this earth. And if more people could do that, I think we'd be in a much better place. I think we'd all be happier as well, happier with ourselves and happier with other people as well. So lean into the person that God has made you to be. Figure out who that person is, and don't just, let yourself be pushed around left and right by all the influences around you. You actually might be in a position, maybe you're on the opposite side of things, where I'm the person that's trying to figure out who I am because I never felt like I fully got that established. You might be somebody that's got yourself completely figured out, or you think that you do. Again, you may have yourself figured out because of what everything else around you has told you that you are. Your parents told you a story. Your friends told you a story about who you are. Teachers, coaches, preachers, youth pastors, all of these people throwing in opinions at you, and you're just like this ball in a pinball machine, like, go here, do this, be this person, say that, blah, 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 blah. You're ping-ponging all around. And you never really quite figured out who you are. You may think you know who you are, but again, you're a product of your environment. You're a product of the stories that have been told to you. You are a product of culture. And for those of you that don't know, I'm a millennial, and I remember growing up when it was quiet. I remember growing up where you could get bored. That was my childhood. If Gen Z is not going to understand this at all, but there used to be this social media site called MySpace way back in the day. Everybody was friends with the guy who started it. His name was Tom. And you could create this profile online, and you could change the colors on it. You could change the effects on it. You could put a song on your profile if you wanted to. The problem was you had to be able to run code. Like, you had to figure out, without ChatGPT, how to literally write an HTML code. Is that right? I don't know. I didn't take IT. HTML? That was the code back in the day. Yeah, you had to figure out that code, put it in the back end of MySpace, and hope and pray that you didn't miss a number, a letter, a symbol, a punctuation point, a feeling, or like whatever. You had to make sure you didn't miss any little thing so that your profile would be the perfect thing that you wanted it to be. If you're like me, you copied a lot of stuff from other people because you just didn't have the time or the bandwidth to figure out how to write that code. But MySpace didn't really become a thing, gosh, I think until I was in middle school. Facebook probably came around midway through college for me. And even then, or not college, midway through high school for me. I'm not that old. And even then, you could only be on Facebook if you were in college. It was a college social networking platform, period, end of story. Like, you were not on social media as a 7-year-old. You were not on social media as, a child. It just didn't happen. And as a result, life was quiet. My mom, I remember she had a cell phone, but she never used it. It was only in emergencies. She had a pager, actually. And my dad and her had created this code system, and they would, send codes to each other. And those were messages. It was like the original text messaging, but it was like some sort of weird digit code. I'm sure other people remember this as well. But technology, it wasn't everywhere. And gosh, we even had like a family computer, and that was it. And you only used the computer, at least in my household, for homework and maybe some leisure time playing solitaire, or, oh my gosh, I remember when I got Roller Coaster Tycoon on that computer, and I thought, this is living. But that was the way that I grew up. And that was essentially the way life was until maybe like right after college. That was just kind of, and remember I got a laptop. Gosh, I remember a laptop for college was so expensive. And they're still pricey now, don't get me wrong. But it was an investment in my education. Let's just put it that way. But it's just, life was quiet. Life was simple. It's not to say that there weren't problems or there weren't these, like we're talking about, influences around me kind of trying to shape who I am or who I became. But man, these days it is impossible. It is absolutely impossible to try to figure out who you are because of everything that's being thrown at you. I mean, everywhere you turn, there's an ad, there's a pop-up, there's a text message, there's a spam call, there's a spam message, there's an email, there's a DM, there's an app alert, there's all of this stuff. There's stuff all over on social media. It's like, it's hard to, it's just so much. It almost feels like we're drowning in influences all around us. That's why everybody on social media these days is an influencer, because everybody's trying to tell you how to live, tell you who to be, tell you what products to use, tell you where to go, tell you who to hang out with, tell you what your profile should look like, what you should be posting, what you shouldn't be posting, how you should do your hair, how you should pose, should you be doing this dance, should you not be doing this dance. It's way too much. And honestly, it's causing a lot of whiplash with people, myself included. I find myself getting on social media, and as of late, man, I am just, oh, what's this product? Ooh, what's that product? Ooh, their hair is so pretty. Maybe I should try that. Maybe this is the makeup technique I should be trying. Like, it is bananas. Now, don't get me wrong. Not all social media is bad. Okay. That's kind of like, that's like been my MO this whole season of the Inside Voice podcast, is like, social media can be good. but it can also be really, really bad. So please, use it sparingly and use it appropriately and use it in a way that is beneficial to you, because honestly, it can get you in this space of feeling unworthy, of feeling unwanted, of feeling not good enough, of feeling stuck. And like you can't make a move because it might be the wrong move, because everything that's on your explore page is telling you to do something else other than what you want to do. Look, I'm telling you right now, that algorithm is dishonest. That algorithm, it may try to figure out what you want to see, but you click on the wrong thing or get fed the wrong thing or watch something for a second too long or a nanosecond too long, and suddenly that's your whole explore page. And who knew that you were that much into baby animals chewing food? You know what I mean? Like the algorithm will lie to you. Social media will lie to you. TV will lie to you. All the ads that you see around you, all of these things will lie to you. But it's just hitting us constantly. It's constantly telling us who we're supposed to be and what we're supposed to do. And it's so frustrating. Like I said, I mean, there's this old Jerry Lewis movie. My husband and I, it's from my husband's family, used to watch a lot of Jerry Lewis movies, and it's kind of trickled over into like my entire personality. But there's a Jerry Lewis movie where I think it's called Rockabye Baby. He's a repairman, like a TV repairman, and he's on this woman's house trying to fix her TV. And she's this little old lady. She's adorable, and she's sitting on the couch watching TV. And every ad that comes up, as the ad is playing, it's like, drink this soda and smoke this cigarette and do this with your hair. Like, use this hairspray. Every time one of those prompts comes through on a commercial, she grabs the product and starts using it. Like, smoke this cigarette, she gets that cigarette. Or, use this hairspray, she gets the hairspray and she sprays it on her hair. Drink this soda, she pops it open and she starts drinking it. That's how I feel like we are operating. It's silly to watch that in a movie and be like, yeah, right, I'll never do that. But it happens, and there's something about social media that has just made it so much worse. It used to be like ads on TV, and still ads on TV whenever you watch them, like you're not really paying attention to them. You're not really being influenced by them, right? But something about social media, and I know this from a radio standpoint because I've done endorsement deals like my entire career, when somebody tells you they use the product and they have a platform, whether it's TV or it is radio or it is social media, we think, oh, they must know what they're talking about. It's gotten so crazy on social media with, people just being paid to use things or paid to promote things, and they don't use them. So they might be selling you something that really doesn't work at all. I digress. Get back on track. At the end of the day, there's just so much noise around us. There's so much telling us who we are, stereotyping us, lumping us into a narrative that we never chose for ourselves. And I want you to know you can break free from that. You can get out of that rut. You can get off of that hamster wheel. You can get off of that ride. You don't have to do that anymore. You don't have to live that life anymore. You can be free from all of that stuff. And guess what? You can be exactly who you were made to be. And we've talked before about devices that we have or tools that we use. When you don't use them properly, when you don't use a hammer the way the hammer was intended to be, it's dangerous. Things could go wrong. The hammer could break because you're using it for something that it was not meant to be used for. Have you ever tried to open a can with a knife? Like, don't, first and foremost. But that's not what either one of those things was meant to be used as. The knife is not meant to stab into the can and open the can. The can is meant to be opened with a can opener, for crying out loud. You know what I mean? So I want to encourage you and tell you that you can get out of this who everybody else has told you to be, and you can step into who you are supposed to be, and it's going to make life so much better for you. Like we talked about a few weeks ago, if God has made you and he knew you before he formed the world, before anybody in your lineage was ever alive on this planet, if he made you and he also set the plan up for you, guess what? You automatically fit into the plan because he made you, he made the plan. Y'all go together, okay? So often people, they either don't know who they are, but they know the plan, or they know the plan, but they don't know who they are. And until you get both of those in line, it's going to be really tough for you to move forward with any calling that you think that you have on your life. That's why I think it's so important for us to get that identity. And if you're a Christian, your identity is in Christ. Isn't that a relief? Isn't that so nice that you don't have to go chasing after all this stuff? You don't have to go down these rabbit holes on social media. All you have to do is just go to the one who made you. It's so much easier. We talked last week about a cell phone. We talked about how, or any kind of tool or piece of equipment that you get, it comes with an instruction manual from the person that made it, right? There's a design intended for the thing, and the creator is the one that understands the design for it because he made it. So if you're looking for ways that you can get clear on who you are, I've got some ways for you. Number one is making sure that you go to the creator. As we've been talking about, just now, like the creator made you. The creator understands what you were made for. Why would you go anywhere else to try to figure out what you were made to be? Every little intricacy of you, every little piece of you, every little nuance, every little tick, every little quirk, every little, everything about you. Why would you go anywhere else to have somebody else tell you who you are? Go to the creator, okay? Oh man, it's so much easier when you can just put it in his hands. And honestly, like if you're trying, you might be thinking, well, I don't know how to do that. How do I go to the creator? Ask him. Just ask him. He's not going to be offended. He's not going to be like, you've been on this earth for 4 decades and you still don't know? No, he's going to love the fact that you want to get to know him more intimately and understand yourself more intimately. Like that's going to draw you so much closer to him. So ask him, who did you make? Who is this person? And if you want to get down to the nitty gritty, go for it. Do I like peas or do I not? Or was I just always told that I don't like peas, That's a little extreme and a little silly. But there's beautiful things that have been placed inside you by the creator. And you won't know them unless you go to the creator and ask him for those things, okay? Now, if you're not a Christian, if you don't know Jesus, first and foremost, I would invite you to get to know him. I would invite you to ask him who he is and come into a beautiful, loving relationship with him because it truly is the greatest thing. And it's what you are made for. I truly believe that there is a God-shaped hole in all of our hearts and nothing else is going to fill it. People, places, things, social media, platforms, followers, none of that is going to fill that hole that is reserved for the one who made you. It's like a key going into a lock. That key is going to fit into the lock. But if you don't have the key, you're never going to be able to open up that lock, okay? So get to know the creator. If you don't know Jesus and maybe you're not at a point where you are ready to get to know him, I would just encourage you to get quiet. We talked a lot about just how loud the world is and how there's constant things coming at you 24/7. You can silence that stuff, You can turn off the TV. You can get off of social media. You can get away from your devices for a little bit. If you plan accordingly, you can get away from the chaos of your home or the chaos of your job or the chaos of life in general and get quiet, getting away from distractions, getting away from things that are, being thrown at you 24/7. You can do that. Spend some time just sitting in silence. And I know that sounds scary. I know that sounds intimidating because we are easily becoming the generation that is in the generation below mine. Like that's all you've known is noise. That's all you've known is constantly being entertained or constantly having things put in front of you or constantly being told things or shown things because of a device on your hand. Like we've forgotten how to just be quiet. I find myself more and more trying to be quiet. I work in a job where I talk for a living. So noise is inevitable. I'm making the noise. I'm listening to audio. I'm listening to music. I'm editing things. Like it's noise. It's being on. And so I've been trying really hard after work just to kind of sit and be quiet, maybe be quiet while I'm making dinner and just not have so much noise around all the time, you know? So I would encourage you to do that. But first and foremost, please go to the creator. That's the cheat code, you know, because he knows he made you, and that's that. So step one in finding out who you are, becoming self-aware, understanding your identity is go to the creator. Number two is to shed anything that doesn't fit into that identity. Shedding the past, shedding labels that have been put on you, shedding maybe the influences that you allow around you, like going through the people that you follow on social media. Anything that makes you feel less than, anything that makes you second guess yourself, anything that makes you question who God has made you to be, gone. You don't need to be influenced by that stuff. Why would you even allow that to have an opportunity to distract you from what you've been called to do? You know, I think about nutrition for me. I'm somebody who I enjoy working out. I enjoy eating well. I am most successful when I don't have the junk in my house. You know why? Because if there's junk in my house, there's a good chance I'm probably going to get into the junk. So why would I even allow a single opportunity for myself to get into the junk? You know what I mean? This might be more difficult if you have children, you know, because that stuff is just there, right? But I think it's incredibly important that once we're clear on who we are, we have to get rid of the things around us that would hinder and take us away from that identity, that would cloud that identity. Once we're clear on it, we don't need things shadowing or, like I said, clouding or getting in the way of that identity. Therapy helps with this. You know, I love Jesus. Jesus is phenomenal. He's by my side 24/7, and I pray about everything, and I am in constant conversation with him. It's just, you know, it's just like he's that friend that's always there. But I also understand that like therapy is very, very valuable. And when I first went to therapy, mostly it was because of the trauma that I was dealing with losing my mom. But what I realized is there was a lot of stuff from my life, from my childhood, from the way that I operated in the world, that I was carrying with me into everyday things. I was carrying it into my marriage. I was carrying it into my friendships. I was carrying it into my job. And I didn't even realize it because again, that was the way I was raised. That was the way that I operated. That's just who I was. And I'm not saying that everything was like awful and traumatic, but I think understanding how the way you were shaped as a kid shows up in your adulthood is so valuable. So you may think, oh, I don't need therapy, because you think that you didn't have like a big trauma in your life or a big event that happened in your life that you need to talk through or process. But I will tell you right now, having somebody look at you and be like, that's not normal, or is that really how you want to live? Or, you know, somebody that just maybe understands you or can hear you out is wonderful. And honestly, being able to talk with somebody who has no idea who you are, doesn't care about well, they care, don't get me wrong, but like they're not interested in the drama of the stories that you're telling them. They're not interested in like, oh, well, now I have to meet your sister since you have all these problems with your sister. Oh, what if I ever see her out in public? I'm just going to think, no, this person is not that invested in your life. They're invested in you and they want to see you grow. But like the surrounding characters, like, cool, they're a part of the story, but we're focused on you. It's a wonderful thing to be able to say things and get things out that you maybe normally wouldn't get out because you're afraid of repercussions from another person. So again, getting clear on who we are becoming self-aware. We're getting our identity, number one, from the creator. Number two, in finding that identity and living in it, is that we are shedding anything that doesn't serve who we are created to be and the purpose that we've been put on this earth to fulfill. And finally, number three, how do we find identity, become self-aware? We take action. We take action because when we get moving in something, we kind of start to pick up on feedback. You know, we understand what works, what didn't work. We understand, we get a better vision of where we're going and what we're doing when we start moving. Inaction, in my opinion, breeds anxiety. But the antithesis of anxiety, the enemy of anxiety is action. Get moving, get going. If there's something that you've been putting off and procrastinating on, just do it. Get the thing done. It's probably not going to take you as long as you thought it was going to. But even with the big things that you want to do, I put this podcast off for a while, coming back with season 2, because I was afraid. And I was like, oh, it's not that I'm afraid. It's just, I don't want to do it wrong. I want it to be perfect, but we're still learning. We're still figuring it out, God bless you for being here in the figuring out process, this new microphone situation that you're having to deal with, like we're still learning and we're figuring it out. But I will tell you right now, I feel a lot less anxious about this podcast now that I'm moving in this podcast than I was before I started at all. So action is a great way for you to get clarity on your identity. And I think God honors us when we take a step. I've heard the phrase that God's not necessarily interested in what you do as he is who you are. So moving should be the least of our worries. Like getting going on something should be the least of our worries, because if we're doing it with the intent of pursuing what he has for us, and we're pursuing the person that he made us to be, that future self that we talked about last week, you'll figure out real quick if what you're doing is what you're supposed to be doing. Because again, it won't align if it's not meant to be there. Remember, God made you, God made the plan, you fit in the plan. Action helps you figure that out, solidify that, understand that, and move forward in that. And I also want to encourage you to see yourself as the starring role in your life. There's a beautiful thing about service to others. Don't get me wrong. I think service to others, service to your spouse, service to your friends, service to people around you, your community, your church, whatever it is, there's such beauty in that. And I do believe that we grow and we learn a lot when we're not so focused on ourselves. But again, like understanding that identity and understanding that like you have the starting position in your own life is important. I think about playing sports. I played basketball in high school. I'll be honest with you. I had no business playing basketball ever. Certainly not in high school after everybody on the team had been playing since they were 5 years old. Like basketball was just not my thing growing up, but I wanted to try it. I thought it'd be fun. My friends were playing, and so I played. I was not a starter. For good reason. I should have just been a water girl or the one that like shagged balls after, practice or something. I should not have been in a uniform. But regardless, I remember there was one game that we played, and I think I was a sophomore in high school, and it was a very, very big game. We were playing one of the teams that was like, they were good, and we hated that they were good. They had the same mascot that we did, which just made it even worse. And I remember this game was so intense. We had girls from both teams getting injured. We had girls from both teams fouling out. It was just one of those knockout, drag out, fight to the final buzzer games. And I remember watching like one by one our starters just like go down, right? And I'm seeing like the second stringers go in, and I'm like, this is cool. And then I'm like, there's not a lot of us left on the bench. And then I'm seeing like those, the second team going in, and like they're struggling and they're fouling out. And then suddenly I'm being called to play. And at this point, we're like less than 10 minutes from the end of the game. Like it is down to the wire. And I remember thinking, I don't belong out here. What am I? No. The girls that are good are supposed to be out here. The ones that are starters are supposed to be out here. Not me. Not against this team. Oh, no. This is a team with depth. We don't have depth. We just have bodies and uniforms, and I'm one of the bodies. Somehow, grace of God, we won that game. And it was the greatest victory ever. But what I want you to take from that story is stop looking at other people as the ones to get the job done, especially when it comes to your own life. You have a role, you have a purpose, you have a calling. It is about time you stepped into it for yourself in your own life. Be the starter of your own life, but also for those around you, for your community, for this nation, for this, world. This world needs you to lean in and step up and be a starter in your own life so you can be a starter on a grander scheme. Like we talked about earlier, like the more that people can just show up and be who they're supposed to be, the better off we're going to be. So I want to remind you once again, our 3 things in finding identity and becoming self-aware. Number 1, go to the Creator, the one who made you. He'll tell you who you are. Ooh, and he's going to love showing you who you are. Number 2 is to shed anything that is not a part of that. Take off the coat, take off the heavy jacket that you've been wearing that somebody else put on you. It's not yours. Let it go. Let the past go. Let the labels go, It's going to be important, in relationship. It's going to be important in your life. It's going to be important in your career path and whatever God has called you for. Like, get rid of anything that is not the identity that He has given you. And number 3, take action. Stop waiting for somebody to give you permission. Stop waiting for somebody to approve and applaud and say, go for it, do it, do it, do it. Stop waiting for the invitation. Stop waiting for even the right time. Sometimes I think we use time as an excuse. Well, I just don't know if it's the right time. We don't have a lot of time, okay? We really do not on this earth. So please step up, step into who you are, and start showing up the way that you're supposed to show up. Do it for you. Do it for your family. Do it for everyone around you. Okay, that's the greatest thing that you can do is lean into who God made you to be and get out there and live the life that He has set before you. The life that He ordained, that He sanctified to further His kingdom. So this week, we're going to get quiet. We're going to set aside some distractions and we're going to focus on asking God who we are. And if you don't know Jesus, get to know Jesus. If you are uncomfortable with that, you're not ready for that, it's okay. But get quiet to figure out who you are. And don't be surprised if God speaks to you in that moment. That's what I'm praying for. But get quiet. Get real clear on your identity. And let's do this. Let's do life. Let's do life together, Stop waiting. The time is now. I'll see you next week.